threat of disaster is never pleasant.
Welcome to the Casual Preppers podcast.
These safety measures are essential.
The only place for prepping, survival, and entertainment.
This will be your source of survival instructions and information. Every member of the family must be coached in the business of survival.
Here are your hosts, Cam and Kobe.
It's good to be back in here.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah. Might as well just do this every day.
Welcome to the podcast, Cameron. Welcome to the podcast, everybody listening. We have a brand new podcast. What is it?
Muy especial.
Yeah, we're really excited. We are starting a monthly interview podcast. This is called 5 Questions with whoever we got on. And today we're really excited because we have the Preparedness Guy.
Yeah.
Right? Really cool dude. We had a blast talking with him. I just feel like we're like kind of simpatico.
Yeah.
We kind of understand each other, right?
Yeah. A lot of these guys that we want to talk to, they very much align with how we deal with preparedness. But some of them, I mean, they have particular skills like working in emergency management, I think would be awesome.
Yes.
And so it's good to talk to somebody about that and how we kind of work it together as preppers and somebody that does it professionally. So, because we're not professionals in any way.
Not at all.
With prepping.
So we're really excited about that. And you guess what we're also excited about? We have a brand new sponsor for this podcast as well. Today's podcast is sponsored by Batterix. Batterix is a single-use backup battery pack designed to always be with you and always ready for that critical charge when you need it most. Each compact Batterix gives you 3 hours of charge time and 8 years of storage life. That's what we love these things. 8 years of storage life is awesome. Batterix is iPhone and Android compatible. Cam and I think these are perfect for any EDC or bug out bag. They're compact, they have a long shelf life, and because your phone is so important in any emergency situation. Batterix was on the ground in recent hurricanes, tornadoes, and other emergency events and sent units for soldiers in Ukraine, which were actually used on the battlefield. So go to batterix.com. That's BATTARIX.com, where you can sign up for 10% discount on your first order and free shipping on orders of 3 or more. Guys, this is patented technology, so you're not going to find it anywhere else. Every prepper needs a backup plan to keep communications going, and Batterix is ours.
It's perfect.
We've both used it. We've both loved it.
Yeah. Don't have to worry if it's charged.
No.
It's already ready to go.
Yeah, you just got to have that backup plan. So we're really excited about Batterix. Go check them out, batterix.com. All right, guys, please enjoy our interview with the Preparedness Guy. Cam, are we excited today?
Yeah.
Dude, we are so excited. We have the Preparedness Guy with us. We've been following this dude for, I think, years and years and years on Instagram. And we said, hey, we're going to start doing this interview podcast. And who better to start with than the man himself, the Preparedness Guy. Welcome, buddy. How's it going?
Thanks. It's going great.
Oh, man, that's
Should
good
be.
to hear. That's
It
so
should
good
be.
to hear.
You're a prepper, so
Yeah, exactly.
there's no worry in the world.
First off, just give us a quick little background on the Preparedness Guy, what you've been up to, what do you do, where can we find you doing your thing?
Well, I am the Preparedness Guy, not just any Preparedness Guy.
That's right.
I hesitated when I chose the name. I was like, is this going to be too pretentious? my Instagram handle is second? No. So I am a professional emergency manager, and I've been into preparedness for a long time. I was a Boy Scout, Eagle Scout. So it's all just kind of been there. I like all the wilderness survival stuff a little bit. And I didn't really like the way preparedness was talked about a lot of times. And that's what drew me to you guys, casual preppers. It's like you're serious about preparedness, but you don't take yourselves too seriously. So that's kind of my perspective too. Is it's like there are better ways to do this. It's not all about the doom and gloom. We can have a lot of fun with it, but it's still important.
Yeah, man. I'm glad you said that, because I think that was the first thing that sort of attracted me to you, to your Instagram. Just because a lot of the things that you talk about are really similar to the way that we sort of try and talk about it, right? It's okay to have fun with preparedness. It's okay to talk about the doom and gloom from time to time, but that's not like what we should be focusing on, in our opinions anyways. And I felt like you sort of were, on the same wavelength a little bit.
Yeah, I try to take that angle on Instagram. That's where I do most of my stuff. I've done a bit on YouTube, and I started a podcast recently. It's Preparedness Works, and I've had some fun with that. Taking it, off for a couple weeks. We just had a couple twins.
Oh my goodness, twins!
Twins.
Well, there goes your preparedness plan.
All right.
Wow, how's that going?
That changes everything. It's good.
It does change everything.
Yeah. So that's in addition to the other kids we already had. So,
how many kids do you have?
Well, that makes 6.
Jeez.
You are from Idaho.
That's right.
Originally, right?
Yeah, exactly. No,
that's awesome. No,
yeah,
good.
It's been great. So, yeah, I'll get back into recording some of those episodes, and it's just a couple weeks I've been off, and I really have enjoyed it. I've been trying to talk to some people about how preparedness works for them. Some situations where regular people have been in extraordinary situations and done just regular things to help them out. Things that they either thought of ahead of time or figured out in the moment, and how they made it work for them. And I've talked to some other people who, like for instance, as a professor from the University of Virginia, he came up with this thing called the Mahdi Drop, and it's just this little tablet that has silver in it, but you drop it in a 5-gallon bucket and let it sit overnight, and it disinfects the water.
Oh, very wow.
But you can use it over and over and over every day for a year.
Oh, wow.
It's like dropping a penny in there, and it just
yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's insane. So it's just little things that help people out. Yeah,
that's cool.
Very cool. And so you said you're currently you are an emergency manager.
That's right.
That's pretty cool. So you actually have some knowledge on actually how all this stuff works and goes, and much better than Cam and I do, because we're just idiots that are talking into a mic. So that's why we wanted to bring you on anyways. So we have 5 questions today for you. Really simple. Going to be super fun. We're excited. Cam's excited, as you can tell.
Yes. I'm just listening. I don't want to speak too much, because then you can see how unprofessional we really are.
Exactly.
I've listened to your podcast. I'm okay with who you are.
Okay, good. Man. Yeah, it's you either love us or hate us. There's no in between. So let's start with question 1. As someone who is in emergency management, as yourself, how does it make you look at preparedness differently than someone who maybe isn't in that field and isn't dealing with these things kind of on a daily basis?
Yeah, this is a weird. It's a weird bridge because, like preppers, it's like you think about like FEMA camps, and I've done a preration where I started off with, "I'm from the government and I'm here to help." As the
walked
joke.
out.
Yeah, they're just like, you had a lot of people who are pretty nervous. But it's funny because there's this view from preppers to emergency management and all of that, but also it's the other way around. You wouldn't expect that as much, but emergency managers don't really like preppers.
That's funny.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, well, they definitely hold on to all the negative stereotypes, and like these guys are antisocial, hyper independent. Yeah, right. Yeah, wait, that's my job. No, they think that basically it's a bunch of redneck militia types who are hoping for the end of the world, and it's like, well, really, it's a huge subculture in the United States of regular people who want to be prepared.
What on earth make them think we were rednecks? I don't get it.
I don't know. I'll never say.
Yeah.
So as an emergency manager, obviously government agencies and organizations don't do things always the right way.
What?
They've surprise
news to me.
But also when you prepare as an individual, there's a lot of things that preppers that we do the wrong way too. And I'm like, I'm seeing both ends of this, and it's like, hey, I do everything right. I should share. No, I don't either. But I have learned lessons being an individual prepper that I look at the things I do at work, and I'm like, hey, there's actually a more low key way of doing this. We can have a bigger impact and understand things better. But also, I look at what I do at work and I take it to my individual preparedness, and I'm like, there's a process that we can follow. There are some tools we can use that help us be better prepared and not waste our time, our money. We're not focusing on the wrong things.
That's awesome.
Just try to bridge the gap.
I've always kind of wondered that, how does the professional, I mean, in some ways you're kind of like a professional prepper for your entire county or whatever you're working for, right? So I just thought it was kind of an interesting, you have a very interesting viewpoint on preparedness being on both sides of that coin,
Yeah. I don't think preppers should ignore that. The professionals in town. Like we had someone that lived down near us, and he was awesome. We always would talk to him about ideas and things that, for the podcast and also for just our own families. Mm-hmm. So I think it's super useful to connect to you. You're kind of like that liaison between preppers and the government.
Well, and it should be the role of emergency managers is whatever organization or jurisdiction you're working for, like you should understand the people. And that emergency management is traditionally top down, policy driven programs, and then it's simplistic, like build a kit, make a plan, stay informed. And it's like, well, that doesn't really work for everyone. For people who can't even feed themselves day to day, like they can't build a kit. But for people who have more than 3 days worth, for people who are a little more prepared, that advice is like, oh, thanks, pal.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm already at 6 months or whatever. And
So really, emergency management needs to learn to do some bottom up, really understand their population and address their needs specifically, and do a lot of outreach. I think that's something that we lack. They go to community fairs and hand out little tchotchkes and whatever. Like, be a little more prepared, but it doesn't really meet people's needs.
Yeah, and again, I agree with you. I feel like preppers have this negative view of what you guys might do, and I think it's just dumb, honestly, when it comes down to it. It's like, why not utilize all the resources out there, even if you don't think it's necessarily the best resource? It's there. It's in your community, and usually it's local. And to me, that's the best. That's the best way to get your preparedness advice or whatever, because those people understand your situation better than us idiots on a mic somewhere or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. No, I'm just kidding. I talked to this lady from FEMA a few years ago, and we were joking about FEMA camps and everything else. And she's like, that is the most baffling idea that I've heard people come up with. You think that there's this thing happening in FEMA, the organization that brought you Hurricane Katrina, and that they're organized enough to be able to pull something like that off. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, good point.
There's a little cognitive dissonance going on there. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Very cool. No, that's awesome.
And this is a little out. I mean, we didn't. This question. So, have you only done emergency management in Virginia and not in Idaho? I just wondered, like, what differences do you see in communities like back east versus the west?
Yeah, so I did some internship stuff in Idaho, and then moved to the East Coast, and it is a bit different. The population is different. Has a different view of preparedness. There's a lot more government agencies out here. This is kind of like the DC area is the hub of emergency management, and so there are a lot of organizations, but then it gets people thinking like, oh yeah, someone will take care of us.
Yeah.
Most people kind of think that. Yeah, there was a shooting back in 2009 at community college in Northern Virginia, and the shooter came in, shot, the gun jammed, so no one died, no one was hurt, thankfully, but it could have been a lot worse. And from what I heard about it, there were 16 different law enforcement agencies that arrived.
Wow.
Yeah, from like Homeland Security to like the Highway Patrol, local, different federal agencies, FBI, like all these people showed up because they're all there. It's like 16 different law enforcement agencies. Yeah.
We'll move on to question 2. What is one piece of prepping gear that you recommend for everyone? Ooh. There's a lot of it.
This was a tough one because I think about
don't get it wrong.
Yeah, don't get it wrong. Oh, this is a quiz. Dang it. I thought about a lot of different things. I thought about EDC stuff. Like I usually carry a multi-tool. My EDC knife is a utility knife instead of one of the expensive ones, because then I'm usually using it to cut cardboard and stuff. So that's something I use every day. I thought about like water filters because that can save you a lot of time. That Marty drop is pretty cool.
Marty drop?
MADI drop. It's like MADI drop.
Oh,
MADI drop
MADI.
plus. Yeah.
Okay.
So I thought about all these things, and ultimately it came down to like a butane stove. And looking at different types of emergencies that happen, like butane stove, it'll give you a little bit of warmth. It's safe to use inside. You can cook food. You can heat up water, boil and disinfect water. It's probably the tool that has been most useful to us. Like, it's pretty versatile, and then you can meet your very basic needs with it. So I think if you, because you might have like a grill outside, a charcoal or propane grill. You might even have a gas stove inside, which would basically serve the same purpose. But your power goes out, or there's an issue with the water, or whatever. Anything. You're camping, you can use that butane stove for so many different things.
Man,
That's
I think
awesome.
that's a great
Not,
answer.
not what I would have thought.
Again, that's why I like asking other people, because I probably would have given a completely different answer. Cam would have given a completely different answer, and they're not, none of them are
Right.
wrong, except for Cam's is probably wrong. But
Well,
yours
have
is
you-
right and mine is right.
You probably haven't used protein because that
Protein.
is the safest and the best.
It works in the butane stove. You can just plug it right in.
You're
Protein.
right.
Yeah.
And as long as
Practically the
as long as you don't light the fire on the protein, then
Yeah.
you can just use it to wash your
It's
hair.
freaking versatile, man.
Yeah.
Versatile.
Yeah, we'll get that stuff out to the public soon.
Protein.
Great. Question 3. What aspect of prepping do you think is most often overlooked?
Ooh.
We get asked this question a lot too, so I thought we'd throw it back at somebody while we could,
Oh man, I think a lot of it is the day to day. Like if something happens, your car breaks down. Do you have a jump kit? Do you?
Yeah.
Can you change your tire? Just like regular things, because for a lot of people it's not an emergency.
Yeah.
But if you don't know how to change your tire, or if you don't know how to jump your car, it's an emergency. Like it becomes an emergency based on how capable you are, or if you have the right tools. So just looking at the day to day and understanding it, and then kind of along with that, doing like training and exercises, like practicing. And that's something we do in emergency management. It's kind of a foundational thing is when you have a response plan, there's a specific response based on a hazard. You have to practice because it validates your plans, and then it trains you. Like you can do it better. You're more confident. Think about fire drills we did in school, or if you're doing those at home. If you go through it a few times, you talk through it, then you walk through it, and then you go basically full speed, right? And if you've done it, then it's not scary when you have to do it.
Right.
So it could be putting on a tourniquet, or doing your fire drill, or going to your tornado shelter. Any of those, or it could be you have 5 minutes to leave your house. What are you going to do? Because there's an evacuation order or whatever. So just practicing it, and then you're like, oh, hey, I can do this. Or you're like, I completely forgot something, and then you just integrate that into your planning.
Yeah, no, I think that's a
Makes a
great
lot of
answer.
sense.
I mean, you're sure it's not 5.56? That's not the one thing that everybody's overlooking?
Oh yeah. Oh, I didn't even think of that.
I was gonna
I
write it-
overlooked it.
I was going to write it in there for you so you'd get the right answer, but I'd see if you were going to get
man.
it or not.
Oh man. Yeah, you should definitely be able to protect yourself and your family, but
Yeah.
I don't think people are really overlooking that at all.
No, that's one. Yeah, most of
true.
them get it. Most
Not
of them get
overlooked.
that. No, I think that's great, man. I do think that a lot of people don't have enough emphasis on the day to day, every day, like that Cam and I like to call like your personal apocalypse, something that's going to happen in your everyday life that maybe isn't an apocalypse to people around you, but for you it could be devastating for that day or that week or whatever. So
Right.
I think that's a great answer.
Yeah, most likely to happen for sure. All right, here you go. Another question.
It's
What?
getting fun now. Hold on. It's getting fun now. Here we go. We're getting into the real meat of these questions.
Yeah.
Thank goodness this has been so boring.
I know. I figured you were falling asleep, nodding off over there. So we're gonna get into the fun stuff.
All right. What conspiracy theory do you find the most interesting or entertaining, and why? And I'm sure you're in the government. You hear a lot of them.
Oh yeah, you're probably
You
part
are
of some of
you
them.
are one of the
But
conspiracies.
I know they're not theories on my
Yeah,
side.
that's true.
It's just like, oh, you mean
You're
conspiracies?
in on
yeah.
it all. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, oh man. Aside from the fact that like the whole conspiracy theory lingo, like that was, as far as I understand, that was an intentional misdirection to coin the phrase conspiracy theory and get people who basically, do pattern recognition of government action. They're like, oh, they're crazy. So just the using the phrase, that in itself is its own conspiracy.
Oh my gosh. We're getting deep.
Yeah,
we are getting deep, and we're getting there
I don't know what we're
quick.
talking about.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you can, the government obviously is conspiring all the time, and not just government, but the BlackRock, whoever else. There are people who are conspiring. That all that means is that they're working together for some nefarious purpose. So things are obviously happening, and then if you start to put the pieces together, and people are like, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist, which now just means you're crazy. So if I had to pick one that I think is most entertaining or interesting, it's a tough one.
I know, it is tough.
Not easy.
You all shared so many good ones. I really love flat earthers.
Oh my gosh, I'm with you.
Yeah.
And it is so compelling because some people are so convinced and they give their justifications and they completely believe it. And I think that's what's so interesting and entertaining also is just they're so far into it. They're going into trying to use these physics examples. It's okay. But then you get to the thing and they're like, well, if the earth is round, then, and you're at the beach, where's the curve? And it's but a horizon is 360 degrees. Where would it curve to? We're not on a cylinder. We're not on a cylinder where you can see the end curve. It's we're on a ball. You're gonna have a line 360. It's 360 degrees. So it's okay. Well, if that's it's obvious things like that are.
That one is so much fun too because you get all the science and the physics involved, and most of them really don't understand it. I mean, I'm not saying that I understand it completely either, but it's just fun watching them fumble through some sort of scientific explanation on why the Earth is flat, but the Moon is round and Mars is round and all of it. And and somehow
the Moon isn't real. So
the Moon isn't real.
Yeah, we're in a dome, right?
Yes, that's right.
And then that one is too. It's where does the sun go? It would diminish, not go past the horizon. It's just
stop asking questions.
Too many
just
questions.
Is what it is.
I watched a debate one time of it was physics students against flat earthers, and obviously the flat earthers were prepared with their crazy arguments, and the physics students are just what are you talking about? Yeah, and they're like, see, gotcha. We're obviously smarter than you, and it's
and they're just dumbfounded by
yeah, it's you're working off this completely ridiculous premise to begin with, and it's well, yeah. I mean, obviously they had prepared these little quips about. No, sorry, I don't know.
That's a good one.
It's so funny, yeah.
Yeah,
but so many people buy into it.
There's a documentary on Netflix. What is it called? I can't remember. It's about all about flat earthers. It is fascinating to watch. One of the best documentaries I've ever watched, just because you're just dumbfounded by
I've got
these
to watch
people
it.
and
their conviction.
How convicted they are that yes, I mean NASA has got some of the best graphic artists in the world, and they're just doing all of this. They're faking the videos, the photos, everything.
And that's where they get people because. Pretty much every image of the Earth is a composite image.
Yeah.
It's satellite images put together. And so it's when a government agency especially is not forthcoming about things. I mean, think about everything in COVID or
I don't want to.
Really?
Things with
I thought it was all on the up and up.
Things with climate change and stuff. The reason people get confused is because it's the what you let. If you're the official source and you lie once, then it's you've got people who are going to question your entire story, right?
Everything's in question from there on out.
So that's really why you got to be really careful when you're giving information out that you're not
unless you're
misleading people one time.
And we can just say whatever we want.
It's just it's hard to refute it when you know that MK Ultra was a real thing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
There's some
how
really
do you say,
sketchy things. So
Operation Midnight Climax actually happened. And
it's there's that meme. It's the CIA's did bad things this decade, but now they're totally cool.
They cleaned it all up.
Everything's good now. Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah, I mean, again, we're not conspiracy theorists. We just love to talk about it.
It's exciting.
It's so much fun.
It's so funny. It's good.
All right.
And
they
along
always
with
think
that,
preppers
it's
are,
yeah. Yeah, that's one of the phrases people use in connection with preppers. I hardly ever call myself a prepper, even though by pretty much every definition I am. Because,
what do you call yourself?
The preparedness guy.
It's right there.
It's right there. Okay. Yeah, no, it's. Yeah, I don't go around saying like, oh yeah, I'm a prepper, because people are like, oh, you want the world to end. You're a conspiracy theorist. You're a militant. Yeah.
If you put casual in front of that, it does help.
Yeah.
It's
all right. Well, I'm the casual prepper now.
No, you can't put the in front of it. What? You can put a in front of it. That's a thing that we had when we were starting this podcast. We're like, well, we really want to talk about these things. We are in many ways preppers, but we don't necessarily align with.
We don't want that same
with the popular notion of what a prepper is, and so how the heck do we do that and do this without sort of bringing on all of that garbage on top of us? And we thought the best way to do that was with voices, apparently. But
it's working.
It's working. Yeah. But that's why we're like, we need to have some sort of an adjective or something in there that describes that we aren't just a prepper. We're a casual prepper. And yeah, because it really is. It's one of those things that you say that you're a prepper to somebody. It's like suddenly they look at you in a very odd way. You know?
And you guys doing that get to deconstruct all of this stuff too, which has been super great. I think you've done a lot for the prepper community, but just being able to look at like the ridiculousness of things, looking at the validity of some concerns, but then just having fun with it. I back when I was in the Army, I remember sitting around shooting the breeze with some of the guys, and they're like, okay, it's Tuesday, whatever time, zombie apocalypse happens. What are you going to do? And it's like, nice. So we can just, it's like, obviously it would never happen, but being able to just like have fun with that and talk about, what you do is just a, fun mind game.
It's kind of
but
exactly
you don't have to be
what we wanted to
right. Yeah, you don't have
do and talk about.
Yeah, you don't have to be afraid of it, but you're like,
yes.
Okay, hypothetically, let's talk through this.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun. Why not? You know what I mean? Like we just did an episode yesterday talking about why we love the apocalypse, and obviously we don't love the apocalypse, but it's just kind of about like why do we enjoy playing, like you said, sort of these mind games about it. Why do we like talking about it? Why do we like to even think about a zombie apocalypse or whatever? I think it's really interesting, and there's no reason to shy away from it. I think just like having fun with it is the best way to flesh out what you might do in a situation.
Yeah, it's totally like a form of practice.
Yeah, exactly.
You need to think about what if.
Yeah, that's why that genre is so popular in movies and books. It's just like hypothetical. And I think the zombie one works because you can come up with so much about it. Like the zombie, like, oh, well, in my made up scenario, the zombies are too fast and I die. Okay, well, now they can't run.
Yeah.
And
they've shown that in different ways. Yeah.
It's just like, like Dungeons and Dragons, but like in your mind with that sort of thing. But the prepper or post-apocalyptic genre of stuff just shows like how interesting it is, because everyone wants to know what if. Like, what would I do in that situation, even if it's completely unrealistic.
And even if you aren't a prepper, that it's something I think that appeals to most people. I mean, obviously, you look at the amount of those types of films that have been out in the last. That we had that statistic in this last episode, like over 100 in the last decade that had some sort of apocalyptic theme. You know what I mean? And so obviously, it's making money. People are going to see it. So everybody sort of has that that thing in their brain, like what if? How would I do this? Or
hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah. But I think that's good. I think that's healthy. I think to me that's a nice little starting point. That was kind of how Cam and I got started into this. We loved any sort of apocalyptic movie, books, or video games. It was so much fun, but it was sort of like the impetus to get us to start talking about preparedness together and do something like we're doing now. I have one more question for you. This one is also very, very important. What is your favorite movie of all time and why? There is no wrong answer, so don't worry.
This was the hardest question.
Yeah, I figured
right answer.
About.
There is a right answer, but there is no wrong answer.
Yeah, I thought about the post-apocalyptic movies. I really like the Sum of All Fears that kind of like hit a lot.
I do too. I like that one.
It had a lot of great things that I enjoyed. But like favorite movie of all time is probably not like a post-apocalyptic.
Yeah, it doesn't
disaster
have to
movie.
be. I mean, if it's Clueless, that's
Most
fine.
of our top 5.
You got it.
I figured it was going to be. My wife makes fun of me constantly because I actually like the movie Clueless. I watch it like once a year at least. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
Okay. So I made myself. I made fun of myself here. So you can kind of say whatever you want now. It's all going to come up from here.
Thinking about it, it's probably the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Yeah,
I see.
It's got to be the whole trilogy, extended editions.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
I love the books. I'm exhausted. I'm
Yeah.
exhausted saying the trilogy.
I don't even know how many hours that is. I can't get my wife to sit through them. She thinks they're all right, but
Yeah. That's awesome.
I think they're really well done. Great story.
Yeah, no, they kind of blew my mind in terms of like what you could put on film.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's one of those movies just like, wow, they really did a good job with this.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely, man.
So
Well, and the books are huge, so it's like, how do you adapt that much source material into a movie? And they really did a great job adapting that. Yeah, I mean, it's fantasy books are still. I mean, we talked about talking about zombie apocalypse and stuff being like Dungeons and Dragons. Anyways, it's all the same stuff,
Yeah.
right? If you're talking about zombies or an unrealistic doomsday scenario, you're just creating a fake hazard. It's just it's a fantasy genre at that point, and it's like, so it's the same thing if it's zombies or orcs or whatever, but also just the story and points. The books I think are really excellent. The friendships, the honor, all
Yeah,
that
for sure.
cool stuff. And Gandalf, he's totally cool.
I'm kind of. I feel bad. I've only read one of the books. I've only read The Hobbit. That's the only one I've ever read. So
I read that one in school.
Yeah, I kind of feel like I
Yeah,
need to read them.
Yeah, well, that's the children's book, so I guess that.
That's true.
I read it with my kids, but it took us like 2 years.
I'll bet,
or something like that. It was a long time, and of course they're like falling asleep and they didn't catch it, but I catch it all. But if you listen on an audiobook at like 2.5 speed or something like that,
you can get through it in a couple of weeks.
That's what most people listen to our podcast, so it's all right.
Yeah, I got on here. It's like, why are you guys speaking so slowly?
This is odd.
You're like trying to adjust things. How do we get through this quicker?
Man, that was awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate you. We appreciate what you're doing for the preparedness community, because obviously the more and more people we can get out there like you sort of spreading the preparedness message, I think is good, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely love it. I love preparedness. I just want to make sure we're doing it in a way that doesn't increase fear, and I think you guys are doing that too. Yeah, so it's I tell people, like, when you ask people what they're preparing for, they'll come up with a hazard.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, you're looking the wrong way. You're preparing against, like, don't prepare against the hazard. Prepare for your needs. Like, look at your life. You respond to hazards, but you prepare so that you can provide for your family, so you can take care of your basic needs. And it's like that's a completely different way to look at it. Like, if you're focusing on the hazards, if you focus on the hazards, you're always going to be acting in fear, because there's always going to be a new news headline. There's always going to be some new war cropping up or pending doom and gloom.
Not if you don't watch the news.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you talk about that all the time, but I agree 100%. That has been like 100%. I used to start the day looking at like the news headlines online. Completely erased it from my history. Yeah. I don't pull up the news tab on my phone. I don't watch news on TV or whatever.
Don't you feel better?
That's all they have.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's meant to rile you up. It's meant to be to get you worried. And if you're serious about being a casual prepper, you don't want that to drive your actions, because they're wrong, like, most of the time anyway.
Yeah.
I'm gonna talk about that in one of my upcoming podcasts too, is that we never know what's really going on. So to base your actions on either false information given by the media or biased information. Like, if you're in the military and you're acting on false intelligence, you're going to make poor decisions. Yeah. But we got to look at it the same way for our own lives. It's like, just focus on your needs, your life, your happiness, and don't worry what these people are saying out there. When something is going to impact you, that's when you need to respond. That's when
I
you take
can't
action.
shake my head
That's perfect.
enough on that, because it's like, stop worrying about everything else. Worry about your little group, your people right here, right? This is where your focus should be, because really you can't.
And that
there's
goes
nothing you
like
can
both
do.
ways. Like people
Hey,
that go away from what the news is saying, like this is ridiculous, and it's like you're not even
you're being
taking
like
care
a
of the simple
contrarian.
things both ways. Like
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can ask yourself anytime you see a headline or sensational story, whatever, you say, so what? And it's like, if there is a what, like, oh, well, this is likely going to impact my life in this way.
That's
You're like,
great,
okay,
yeah.
then I'll take appropriate action. But if it's not going to have a direct impact on your life, it might be important. It might be very important, but it doesn't impact you.
Right.
And it's like, if there's something you can do, if you can write your congressman or do whatever, like if there's something you can do, then obviously get involved if it's important to you. But if there's nothing you can do and it's not going to impact you, don't let it weigh on your shoulders.
Yeah, you have enough problems in your daily life. You have enough anxiety. There's enough things going on to pile on other garbage that really has very little effect in the end to your day-to-day life, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, love it. Dude, okay, where can everybody find you?
Instagram's the best place, the Preparedness Guy. I'm also on other socials, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. Not as active there, but there if you're there. And my podcast, Preparedness Works, it's got an Instagram page as well, so you can find that.
Just a bunch of pictures of butane stoves and videos of butane.
Yeah, just, oh man, butane stoves galore.
At butanelover.com.
Butane lover, yeah. So my website is actually preparednessguy.com. You can put in your email and get a free family emergency plan.
Ooh,
that's
I like
awesome.
that. Ooh,
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah,
I'm
and
doing
it's
that. I felt
based
the
on-
stirring in my tummy when you said
That's
that.
right.
Man.
Yeah, I based it on how I do emergency plans for organizations, because it talks
that's
about
awesome.
Yeah, it's hazard based because response is hazard based. So you look at a specific hazard, it gives you just key checklist information, and so you can get that. It'll be a PDF. You can print it off and go through that with your family. It's a training tool as well. So when you do your drills with your family, you just talk through it, and then you walk through it. You show the kids how to feel the door with their hand, how to crawl along the floor, get outside where your assembly area will be outside. If you have to evacuate your house, where your shelter location is inside your house, you put that all on there.
Nice. Love
That's
it.
great.
I
Yeah.
freaking love it. Well, thanks, man. Hopefully we can have you on again at some point. Appreciate you coming on.
Absolutely. Thank you, gentlemen.
Awesome. Stay survived, y'all.